I am just here to support the President of the United States. President of the United States is, our boss. But he's also, the President and the First Lady are kind of like the mom and the dad of the country. And when your dad says something, you listen.
This reference reminds me of the Jones cult, whose members called him Father. I would just like to point out here some of the other similarities of their beliefs to those of Obama's religious background.
Hello, family. It's such a joy and great pleasure being here because of Father's love. We are trying to make, and we are making, a place of refuge for all of you here. There's nothing at all that I have any holdings there. I do not want to go back in any way, shape, or form to the States. I love it here, and this is the place where all of you are going to be.
There's a black cult religious tradition that goes back at least to the Civil War, and which has roots that go back to the beginning of slavery. Jim Jones embraced this black cult religious tradition, as did Barack Obama when he joined a church with a Black Liberation doctrine.
People's Temple really was a black church. It was led by a white minister, but in terms of the worship service, commitment to the social gospel, its membership, it functioned completely like a black church.
He talked black. He really understood it. He understood how it was to be treated differently. And that's from his roots coming out Lynn.
When people heard Jim, they didn't look upon him as being a white preacher, People didn't look at Jim as being white. He was not white. He was just their preacher.
The Jones cult was about self-worship. It was hostile to America, white society, and traditional Christian belief. Jones believed that man can become God and transform the world into utopia, a biblical kingdom on earth. This is similar to the Black Liberation doctrine of Obama's Trinity Church.
They see Christ in me, a hope of glory.
He said, a lot of you people, you Christian people coming in, you're so hung up on this Bible. He said, this black book has held down black people for the last 200 years. He said, but I'm going to show you this has no power. So he leaned way back like a football player, and he flung it. And when he flung it and let it go, the place got dead quiet. And he waited till it hit the floor. Pow! When it hit the floor, he stood and he looked back and forth. He said, now, did you see any lightning come from the sky and strike me dead?
You're going to help yourself or you'll get no help. There's only one hope of glory. That's within you. Nobody's going to come out of the sky. There's no heaven up there. You have to make heaven down here.
And he said, what you need to believe in is what you can see. He said, if you see me as your friend, I'll be your friend. As you see me as your father, I'll be your father, for those of you that don't have a father. He said, if you see me as your Savior, I'll be your Savior. He said, even so, if you see me as your God, I'll be your God.
Jones taught collectivity and social justice. He attracted followers by promising to take care of them and admitted being a communist. Jones was politically active and he sought political influence.
You have managed to make the many persons associated with People's Temple part of a family. If you're in need of health care, you get health care. If you're in need of legal assistance of some sort, you get that. If you're in need of transportation, you get that. And that's the kind of religious thing that I'm excited about and have some respect for.
When vice presidential candidate Walter Mondale came to San Francisco, Jim Jones was part of the entourage that boarded his private jet. When Rosalind Carter came to San Francisco, she gave Jim Jones a private audience. Jim Jones had political power that few people, let alone preachers, could have imagined.
Jim Jones represented the People's Temple as a progressive movement that was threatened, that there were outside forces who didn't want us to do what we were doing.
Jones' early influence came from Father Divine, a black cult leader of the 1930s. However, he also had a relationship in the 1970s with the Nation of Islam, a black cult whose doctrine inspired the Black Liberation doctrine of Obama's former church. Jones was investigated by the House Un-American Activities Committee for his relationship with Paul Robeson, a communist sympathizer. Paul Robeson, in turn, was the mentor of Frank Marshall Davis, Obama's own childhood mentor. So there is this rather indirect connection between the Jim Jones cult and Barack Obama's mentor. There is one big difference, however. Jones had less than 1,000 followers at Jonestown. Today we're all living in Obamatown.